on LinkedIn, go to the AppPoint account, feel free to share it. We're live streaming a lot of the sessions today and we're recording it as well. If you're on Twitter, feel free to follow the Modern Workplace Conference Paris account. We're streaming on Periscope as well. So first and foremost, thank you for being here this morning. I know despite the experience coming here, we're very excited today to be a part of this conference. My name is Dux Raymond Tsai, for those I have not met. And in the next hour, I'm going to walk you through on how you can lead the modern workplace revolution. And to really set the context of the power of the technologies we have at hand, I want to show you this little company on how they're taking advantage of the phenomenal tools in Microsoft 365. Check it out.
Quand on libère l'énergie, quand on libère la créativité des salariés, on n'est jamais déçu. Il faut toujours oser.
On veut donner la parole à chacun et donner l'opportunité à chacun de pouvoir contribuer à cet esprit de challenger.
On a besoin de sentir qu'il y a effectivement une grande cohésion interne et on travaille à la même chose.
Office 365, c'est des outils qui permettent d'aller vite et de toucher beaucoup de monde de façon extrêmement efficace. Et de ce point de vue-là, Office 365, c'est forcément un plus en termes de réactivité, en termes de time to market.
Chez Air France, les salariés ont une forte appartenance à leur entreprise. Ils aiment leur entreprise. J'ai créé le groupe I Love My Job il y a 2 ans afin de fédérer mes collègues, qu'on se sent écoutés. Et ça veut dire qu'on peut porter des initiatives.
Ce qu'il y a de plus fort, c'est que ça vienne des salariés eux-mêmes. Ça n'aurait jamais eu autant de force et autant de réussite si ça avait été une idée de la direction.
Un des intérêts principaux d'Yammer pour nous, c'est de pouvoir travailler sur ce qu'on appelle la transversalité. Toutes les informations qui sont relayées et remontées par les personnels navigants nous sont utiles parce que ça nous donne des idées. Yammer, aujourd'hui, ça nous a permis de retravailler l'offre. Et là, prochainement, on va mettre en place une nouvelle offre qui correspondra mieux aux attentes PNC et aux attentes clients.
Les outils sont beaucoup plus partagés et adoptés par l'ensemble des utilisateurs comme étant des choses qui leur apportent vraiment de la facilité dans leur travail, de la facilité dans leur fonctionnement, dans leurs échanges d'informations et à un niveau technologique qui est aujourd'hui à la pointe.
Les équipes qui travaillent en décalé, donc 24 heures sur 24, utilisent principalement la doc technique à disponibilité tout le temps sur les outils mobiles qu'on leur fournit. Office 365 nous permet de fournir les outils le plus vite possible aux opérations. L'utilisation de ces nouveaux outils permet de gagner 1 à 2 heures de temps par semaine.
Je peux gagner jusqu'à, en termes d'efficacité, 2 mois sur les sessions de sélection.
Quand on regarde les métiers chez Air France, on a une grande partie de nos effectifs qui sont nomades. Et donc les outils collaboratifs sont un énorme plus afin de donner à nos équipes terrain des outils pour s'exprimer, pour partager leurs bonnes idées et leur envie d'agir. L'état d'esprit de challenger, c'est accepter de se remettre en question, de se réinventer pour inventer toujours de meilleurs produits ou services pour nos clients, mais également pour améliorer l'expérience de nos employés.
C'est ça aussi, Air France et la force de cette entreprise.
All right. So I'm pretty sure all your companies are using Office 365 like Air France, right? It's well adopted, how they're using it. Yes? No? Maybe? Yeah? And a lot of you didn't raise your hand because most likely you're here, you want to learn about how to better enable your organizations to adopt a phenomenal platform like 365. So to get the conversation going, on your phone, Kahoot.it, I want to do a quick survey. I want to understand what your challenges are so we can talk about it in the next hour. Open your phone or your computer, go to this website, and put in this pin, because I want to really get a good feel of where everybody's at, okay? So go to this website, Kahoot.it, and enter that pin, and it should ask for your name. And we're going to survey everyone in the room as to what challenges you're facing with. So thank you, Reno. Come on, chop, chop. All right, so we got a bunch of people joining. And folks that are online, feel free to join as well. You can join us. I know you're seeing it on the screen. Go to kahoot.it and enter in this game pin. We'll do a little survey here. It will set up our conversation for the next 15 minutes or so. Okay, so we got most of everyone. Let me go ahead and ask this question. All right, so what are some of the challenges a lot of you face around adoption? Here are 4 choices. So you just enter the answer on your phone, right? First is lack of executive buy-in. Boy, Ducks, I would love to have a video like Air France where everybody's using Microsoft 365. Is that a challenge? It's hard to keep up with new technologies. Every week, Microsoft just introducing something new in Office 365, and how do they expect me, for my team, to adopt? Limited training. Adoption is an afterthought. That's high up there. I don't know about you. I used to run an IT organization. I used to upgrade SharePoint 2007 to 2010. Remember those good old days, right? And then as we're going to go to production, what about adoption? I know, we're going to send people to training. Once they attend a 3-day power user training, life would be great. They don't have to talk to me until 3 years later for my next upgrade. Does that work? No. So keeping these 4 things in mind, thank you for putting in your answers. What we're going to do, we're going to walk through and talk about the typical challenges of organizations face on driving adoption, but most importantly, I'm going to walk you through 3 specific tips and examples that you can use to jumpstart your adoption organization. So as we all know, the hardest thing around technology adoption has nothing to do with technology. The hardest thing with technology adoption is asking people to change, right? How many of you use SharePoint in your organization? Right? How many of you in the last years or 5 years or 10 years of using SharePoint, unfortunately your environment is still a big file dump. It's where files go to die, right? We all know that SharePoint's much more powerful than that, but yet for some reason, people don't adopt and use it the way as it should be. And the reason why is this. There's an actual study called the Diffusion of Innovation, and as you download this PowerPoint, there's a link you can see. It's a study on what it takes for organizations to adopt technologies like Office 365. And do you guys know how long it takes for a full adoption to happen? Anybody want to guess? Yes, young man? How long do you think if I roll out Microsoft 365, Office 365, my whole organization adopt? What's that? I'm sorry, can you shout it out? It depends, yeah, it depends. There's a range. It takes 15 to 18 months. Oh, that's too long, Docs. I don't have budget for that. I don't have people to do that. Well, that's what it takes. If you're thinking, oh, we're going to roll out Teams and we're going to tell people to attend a training or come to this conference or watch a video, it's important, but it's not enough. In organizations that do not have a solid, sustainable adoption strategy can only get as much as 34% adoption, as this study has proven. By the way, this study called Diffusion Innovation, they study organizations around the world, government, small organizations, private companies. So what should we do, right? And what they found out as a part of this, there are 3 core challenges around adopting, especially cloud technologies. One is the fact that cloud technologies, or your SaaS tools, the approach that organizations take to move is a lift and shift approach. What do you mean, Ducks? We just bought Office 365. Let's migrate email. And then let's migrate file share to OneDrive. Let's migrate the old version of SharePoint to SharePoint Online. As IT, we would take that approach because that's what we do. But here's the problem, friends. To the business, they don't see any value. Because email is still email, maybe a little faster. File storage is still OneDrive file storage. Right? People don't get excited about that. Hence, they don't really want to adopt anything new because it's too late. Here's what you do. Okay, dear company, we just moved to Office 365. We're going to have new email. 3 months later, we have new OneDrive. 3 months later, we have new SharePoint. And by the way, after all that, we have this thing called Teams. You better be excited. No, it's too late. You didn't make that first impression. Right? I mean, it's like going on your first date. What do you mean? When you go on your first date, you always present your best self. Oh, I'm Mr. Microsoft 365. There's no point in wearing this 1980s email jacket. I got to show up with my Teams blazer. But we don't do that. And then we show up to our first date. Hey, business, I'm Office 365. Do you like my 80s email jacket? No. I'd rather go hang out with this cool kid called Slack. You laugh, but we're all guilty. The second challenge, why adoption doesn't happen, is organizations are not prepared to deliver new technologies and changes in the cloud. The problem today, I see this a lot when I talk to customers with IT organizations, it's that IT is not designed to support cloud-based technologies. For example, SharePoint, the collaboration team owns that. Skype, the UC team owns that. AD, it's a security team. Okay, let me ask you, who owns groups? Well, groups is kind of like membership, so let's give it to AD. But what happens? They make decisions that they think it's good around security and membership, but groups, the core of it, is all around collaboration, around SharePoint. Teams is a replacement for Skype. Let's give it to the UC team, but Teams is more than just calling and chatting. So organizations don't know how to handle this. The third issue is there's this lack of digital dexterity. What does that mean? What we mean by being dexterous is it's ingrained, it's part of our lives, right? So for example, when you woke up this morning, what was the first thing you did? I hate to say it, when I wake up first thing in the morning, I would love to say I kissed my wife, but I don't. I reach for my phone. Yeah? That's what Tony does. No? Oh, that's what she does, right? And then I get my phone, I scroll, I look at my news feed, I check my email. It's so natural. But then once we step into work, for some reason, all logic goes down the drain because everything is freaking email. Oh, you don't understand, Dux. We're in government. Or we're in this healthcare organization. When was the last time you used email to organize your holiday? Right? When we go on holiday with me and my family, I start a WhatsApp group. We do chat, we post pictures, we share links. It's natural, it's dexterous. I use my phone. Heck, the only time I use my email now is to get my Amazon.com receipts. But then everything at work is bounded by email. The other issue around driving adoption is we think adoption is all about training. Training is good, training is important, but it doesn't work by itself. Especially if we think about training from a traditional IT model where everything has to be around the tool. Here's a site, here's a list, here's a library, here's a team, here's how you create a tab, here's how you create a channel. Office 365 groups. There are 22 ways to create Office 365 groups. You can go to Outlook, you can go to Power BI. You're interested to create a work. That's okay if you're teaching IT people, but guess what? This technology skill set touches every single person in the organization. It has to be contextual. At the end of the day, as a project manager, I don't care about SharePoint. I care about getting my projects done on time, on budget, so I can go home by 4 o'clock. That's all I care. Right? Now, if the tool helps me to do it, great. I don't need to remember all these things. Right? What's the goal, friends? The goal, knowing all this, is to drive sustainable adoption. Hopefully after this session, and especially for folks watching, you're never going to use the word adoption by itself. you have to pair it with sustainability because, like I said, it takes about 15 to 18 months to sustain and drive adoption. And the goal of sustainable adoption is three things. Number one, you got to drive excitement. You got to get people excited on the possibilities of getting their job done faster, better, sooner. I mean, you saw the Air France video, right? They're not talking about we're using Teams to work on Word documents or chat. No, we're running our business with Teams. We're checking flight operations. With Yammer, we talk to our flight attendants and coordinate what's happening up in the air, right? People get excited about that because in the past they couldn't do it. Second is make sure that whatever you're introducing helps facilitate change for the better. I know it's hard, right? Some people in the organization, they would want to stick to their old ways. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? We've done this the way we've done this. Well, if you have that mindset, you'll end up like Blockbuster Video. I don't know if you guys had Blockbuster here a long time ago. Because Netflix came out. If you have that mindset, you'll end up like AOL, right? You got to change. So to drive adoption, people has to see the value of the change. Lastly, you have to empower and assist people because I caution you, while we want adoption, in the initial moments of adoption, people need a lot of help. IT will not scale as fast as people adopt. And if you cannot help people as they're adopting early on, they lose interest, right? So we're going to talk about how we do all this. So the goal is really to drive sustainable adoption. Now, on the count of three, I want you to shout the word sustainable adoption so you won't forget, right? 1, 2, 3. Sustainable adoption. Okay, good. So how do we do this? So the objectives of sustainable adoption is the following. If I go back, the goal of sustainable adoption program is to bridge people, the business, and the technology. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how good a job we do it. We will always have some sort of disruption in the organization. So what we want to do is to drive adoption is minimize this negative impact, promote the consistent use, hence the 15 to 18 months is important, and provide users with the resources they need to be successful. You got to show them or teach them how to fish. We're in a changing world. We're in a changing business environment. So empowering people is key. So the question now becomes, is it possible to drive up to 90% adoption? 100% is impossible. Nothing's, you can't really do 100% within 15 to 18 months. I mean, there's exceptions. But based on the diffusion of innovation study, guess what? It's possible. The only catch is you have to be intentional about this, and you have to have a solid, sustainable adoption program in place. That's why Microsoft has been investing heavily on resources around adoption. The Microsoft teams, for example, they have a whole adoption toolkit. They have a whole change management toolkit because it can work. But if you expect for people to figure it out themselves, newsflash, they won't. Right? I mean, look, it's kind of like this. I'm a parent of 2 wonderful children. My son, Johannes, he's 14. My daughter, Danica's 9. And I remember the first time I took them bowling, right? At home, I prep them. I'm like, okay, kids, I know you're excited about bowling because we have this new disco bowling that opened. They love the idea of bowling with music and lights. And I said, this is what you do. Bowling, there's pins. When you get the ball, you get the right size ball, and then the goal is to hit it. And you hit the pin, and if you get everything, you're good, right? Do you think after I explained all that, I left them alone? I'm going to drop you off the bowling alley now, and I'll pick you up an hour later. They were 6 years old at that time, my son. As a parent, would you do that? No. But for some reason, that's what we do. Dear company, we're now migrated to Office 365. Here's what you should do and should not do. Watch all these videos. Remember all these rules. Have a good life. Don't talk to me. If that's your approach, you're never going to get here. So how can you get there? I'm going to show you 3 practical ways to get here. Number 1, to drive sustainable adoption, even before you introduce these technologies to your organization, you have to make it easy for people to do the right thing. Office 365 and Microsoft 365 is so complex. If you think SharePoint was complex, this is very complex. People won't remember every single thing that you tell them. Oh, when you create a team and you became an owner, make sure you only create these channels. Or when you create a SharePoint site, make sure you don't change permissions. And by the way, you're now a site collection app. They won't remember all this. So you have to set the environment up that they will be successful. How do I do that? First, you enforce policies by automating governance. Okay, so what do we mean? So let me show you an example. This is what I envision that we all should be doing, right? You see, when we set up Office 365, our only concern is, let's set up the right sites, let's set up the right accounts, logins. But we have to really sit down with the business and understand what their needs are and what policies and governance we should put in place. In this scenario, right, for example, Department A, because they work for HR, we are not going to allow external sharing because of the information they hold due to GDPR requirements. Expiration, retention, 6 months. So after 6 months, we're going to make a decision. Do we keep this? Do we archive this? Are we bounded by Sarbanes-Oxley compliance that we have to keep this for 7 years? What about our records management needs? Y'all with me? Can they create their own team, for example? No. For HR, they have to ask from IT. And then they have to recertify members every 3 months. And then if we look at Department C, let's say that's marketing, right? We're going to let them do external sharing. We're going to expire at 9 months after last access. Only these 3 people can do self-service creation, etc. So we sit down as IT, right? We set up the platform, but we understand the needs of the business and figure out what these basic policies are. Okay, it's great, docs. We have that. We tell people, hey, marketing, only Joe, Sally, and Harry can create self-service. But people won't remember it. We have to enforce it, and that's the good news of Office 365. Out-of-the-box capabilities in E5, for example, you have the Office 365 Compliance Center that you can configure these. If you have Azure AD P1, you can define things like naming policies for your SharePoint sites, your groups, your teams. If you're a PowerShell guru, you can run the PNP provisioning to streamline a provisioning process. You know how I explain this in my bowling analogy? When I take my kids bowling the first time, I make sure the guardrails are up. You guys know what I'm talking about, like the guardrails? I do that because I want my kids to be successful. It's a higher likelihood of them hitting those pins. Okay, I got to tell you, after the 3rd time, my son, he was a little cocky. Right? Oh, I'm a big boy now. It's my 3rd time. Put the guardrails down. All right? What happened? He went to the gutter. And even worse, there was one time, it hit the other guy in the other lane. I had to pay for his game, right? We want to make it easy for people to do the right thing. So let me show you examples. I recorded a demo last night, just in case the internet. So this one, I turned on self-service, but I have all the policies turned on. So this one, my colleague Adele, she's in marketing. And instead of having all these crazy names around teams, she's creating a team, but I'm enforcing naming policies. So I've taken advantage of Azure AD P1. So notice as she types the name of the team, notice this prefix that's added already. That's huge for large organizations because the last thing you want, you would duplicate names, and at least this way, it's identified that she's with marketing. So if I want to run a report, I want to retire this site, I can pull this up easily. And this is one of the many policies that's already built in. Right? She's adding members. I've also put a policy that, because she's marketing, she cannot create external users outside the company. Yeah? So That's really powerful. I'm going to show you another example. How do I make it easy for users to do the right thing, right? So one of the things, as you're familiar with, if you're using Microsoft Teams has apps that you can install and download. So I'll show you two examples. How do you make it easy for people to do the right thing? This is a good one. There's an app there called Ava. It's a free app, no strings attached. We created this. It stands for AppPoint Virtual Assistant. And the reason why we created this is we've gotten feedback from customers. They're like, Ducks, and this is IT speaking. They're like, Ducks, you know, unlike in on-prem, when a user deletes an email or a file share file or a SharePoint site, there's processes to restore it, right? We can build stuff on premises, they can get their email back. But in the cloud, in Office 365, the problem is if let's say Dux deletes his email and it's not in the recycle bin, or I delete my Word document or my SharePoint site, it's not in the recycle bin, how do I get it back as Dux in marketing? Who do I talk to? Who do I talk to? IT, right? Dear IT, I bought you 3 bottles of Bordeaux last night. Can you help me get my email back? What if it's a Saturday? Unless I'm the CEO, most likely I'm not going to get it. But what if you make it easy for users to do the right thing, you install and deploy this app in your organization, and you can just talk to Ava. Ava is a bot. You can say, what can Ava do? I can look at it. Ava can restore a file, an email, or Teams. I can say, hey, Ava, restore me an email. Ava's like, what do you remember in the email? Hello, sent to, blah, blah, blah. I hit submit, and voila. Ava's like, look, I found all these emails that you deleted, and if you want, you can restore it, and then it's going to go back to your inbox. Is this helpful? In case you don't know, Office 365 retention, depending on which workload, Microsoft only keeps it for 14 to 90 days. So as long, depending on, if you're using email, OneDrive, or SharePoint. So if you're in that window, you can provide this end user restore capability to your business users so they don't have to deal and bother IT. And IT can focus on the more important things, right? What do you guys think so far? Good? All right. Now, the next thing that's important to make it easy for people to do the right thing is we have to specify the rules of engagement. I always get asked by ITs like, Docs, it's so hard, right? How do I educate my organization on what to use when? Why do we still need Yammer? Teams can handle 5,000 users. There's no point for Yammer. And my advice to that is a fundamental issue with organizations rolling out these technologies is that they don't define the rules. For example, going back to my kids, my son, he's now 14, he always complains. Because I have a rule at my household, during the week when there's classes, 9 o'clock, he goes to bed. Okay? He goes to bed at 9 o'clock, even though he thinks he should be up till midnight. He would tell me, my friends, their parents let them stay up till midnight, even their school. I go, sorry, you live in this house. So my point is, fine, for example, Yammer can do certain things and Teams can do another, but how are you going to use it in your organization? At least for me, I'm going to show you an example, right? At AppPoint, this is how we think of technologies. Yammer is our cafeteria. Where at lunch, I go to lunch not only with my immediate team, marketing, but I also get to have lunch with folks in sales, in accounting. That's where we meet each other. That's where we talk. That's where we keep up. We don't really do work in cafeteria. Y'all with me? Where we do work is in our conference room, our office. That's what Teams is all about. That's where we do work. And lastly, SharePoint. SharePoint is the company library. That's where all the content, all the books, all the white papers, all the artifacts are stored. Regardless if it's being used for my team, or maybe one day I just decide that I'm going to grab a book and go to the cafeteria because we have a book club going on. You know, marketing and sales and accounting, we have this lunch book club that we bring our book and share what we learn. Y'all with me? You like this analogy? Food always works. But besides that, you need to keep reinforcing this. So how do we do it? So at AppPoint, when we have new employees, when they get onboarded, one of the things, and I moved this video to YouTube, so I'm going to share it with you so you can see it. This is our intranet. It's very simple. It's SharePoint. Think of intranet as library. Everything that any AppPoint employee needs, they go to our intranet, which is powered by SharePoint Online. And on front and center, this is what they see. It's a welcome video. So let me play this video. All right, let's reload the site. Let me play this. I moved it to YouTube, like I said, so I could share with you. It was originally on stream. Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Point. This is your one-stop shop where you can find everything you need here at AppPoint. From sales enablement resources to internal tools, you'll find it right here. In addition, we also have Yammer, where you can engage with your colleagues around the world. Get to see what's going on in different offices and maybe ask questions from your colleagues about our business. And don't forget, make sure your team takes advantage of Microsoft Teams. This is the hub for your teamwork. From calls to instant messaging or co-authoring a document, Microsoft Teams is the place to be for all your communications and collaboration needs. Enjoy your stay here at AppPoint. I can't wait to meet you. You know where to get me. Have a great day. It's simple. But boy, I tell you, it's so effective. And then the other thing I want to show you is, in addition to that video, every employee gets to see our collaboration workbook. It explains all the basic tools everybody uses. And we would say, this is what email is for. This is what Teams is for. This is what OneDrive is for, etc. And by setting the rules of engagement, the expectation, we can all work on the same page. Do you guys want a copy of that workbook? Yes. All right, 100 euros a download, all right? No, just kidding. Once we're done with this session, I'll put information there. I'll package all this in a 50 gig zip file, and I'll email it as an attachment, okay? All right, so step one, right? You got to make it easy for people to do the right thing. Automate and enforce governance. Number two, specify rules of engagement. Next, to drive sustainable adoption, you have to ensure quick wins. Alleviate mundane tasks, right? So what do we mean by this? So for example, I don't know if you know this. I'm going to show you two simple things here. In Office 365, there's a calendar scheduling capability. So let's say I'm logged in as Ian, and I'm going to email two other people. I just have a Gmail account, right? And I'll say, let's meet next week. Very straightforward. I could do this in Outlook Client. I'll say, hey, Duxes, let's meet next week. And at this point, you know what's going to happen, right? You'll have that email meeting scheduling dance. Well, what about 9:30? No, what about Tuesday? What about, y'all with me? It's annoying, especially if you have a lot of people. What if I could do this? What if I could say, hey, Cortana, can you schedule our meeting? Thanks. It's like I have my own admin. And I hit send. And that's it. So what happens? Part of the bot, machine learning, it looks at my schedule. It will independently reach out to those two people and say, hey, Ian wants to schedule a meeting with you. Here are the available times. So I don't have to deal with it. Cortana will talk to those individuals, even outside the organization, and figure out a common time and book the meeting for you. This technology has been around in the last 3 years. Who doesn't know about this? Right? It's okay, no shame. No. So let me show you what it looks like. So I'm going to open up my Gmail account. There you go. So this is Gmail. Hi, I'm helping Ian schedule 30-minute meeting with you and another person. Here are the available dates. Please let me know which one's available. Is that cool or what? You want to get promoted by January 2020? Show this to your boss. Right? I just showed you Ava, where you can alleviate mundane tasks. Another quick win, the biggest feedback we get from customers is, we love SharePoint, we love Teams, but I just need to get my work done. How do we make it easy and make me focus on the work that I do? In Microsoft Teams and SharePoint the same, you can actually create these things called templates around your business scenarios. So where users don't have to create a team from scratch, they could just pick and choose what's appropriate for their business purpose. Oh, I'm working on a project. Oh, I need a team for my department. Right? And by doing this, not only does it create a team, it creates all the necessary assets within that team. Channels, tabs, documents, all that good stuff. So let me show you another example. So in this scenario, there's an app I downloaded called MyHub. And MyHub helps this. So I'm an admin. I see a lot of stuff. So let's say I want to create a team because I kind of know what I'm doing already. So instead of, I can put in the information, engineering, project, create a team from existing team. There you go, right? There could be a team for events, a team for HR onboarding for new employees, right? The class of October 2019. And this just makes it easy around my scenario. Or I can even make it much simpler. Oftentimes, your business colleagues, they won't even know what they need. I don't know if I need a SharePoint or a team or a Yammer community. All I know is I need something. Well, instead of asking them what tool they want, maybe ask them, what are you trying to do? Well, I'm working on a project with more or less than 5,000. Less than 5,000. Do you already have a workspace? No. Do you want email? No. I like chat better. Everybody see that? So the conversation's more human-centric. It's more business-focused. And based on their answers, behind the scenes, again, automation, you can now decide, based on what they answered, we're going to create a team. We're going to create a Yammer community. We're going to create SharePoint, focusing on business scenarios. Lastly, for step 2, for quick wins, a good quick win is expediting engagement within the organizations. And that's why I love Yammer. You see, oftentimes I saw people's responses, right? There's no executive buy-in or executive support around driving adoption. If you can show quick wins to your leaders on how you can better connect people in the organization, it's already powerful for them. So in this scenario, Yammer, for example, has capabilities to do live streaming. Even at Microsoft, Satya, he would do his town hall using Yammer. And we do the same in our company. And boy, it just changed how we interact as an organization. So let me show you an example, friends. So let me give you the scenario of how our organization was like before and after. So we're a company of 1,600. AppPoint is a software company that we help organizations around the world migrate, manage, and protect their Office 365 investment. And every 3 months, our CEO would do a town hall. In the past, the town hall experience was very disjointed. We would have a Skype meeting, the PowerPoint would be in a SharePoint site, and then once the town hall is done, the recording is stored in another SharePoint site where nobody watches. You know what I'm talking about. And then we're like, how can we improve this? When Yammer came out with live events, we would still send a meeting invite to every single person in the company, but instead of a Skype meeting, it was a live event in Yammer. And then what our CEO would do, every quarter, he would go to different offices around the world and do the town hall there. So once the town hall happens, once somebody clicks on it, they just watch the town hall in Yammer. But what happens next is amazing. It made a whole difference because as our CEO is doing his town hall, people are taking pictures, they're sharing, They're congratulating people for their awards, their birthdays. So there's this engagement going on. And guess what? As soon as the town hall is done, right? We can watch the on-demand video, and here you go. So the cool thing about this is, let me show some intro here. This was the last one a few months ago.
All this quarters. Our first guest, our guest speaker. Hello, Shelly.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, so we started our town hall recognizing our key employees in that office who demonstrated our core values around being agile, being passionate, and being able to work with a team. But this slight change in how we do the town hall made a big difference in how our leaders engage in the organization. And while this town hall was done in North America, when our colleagues in Asia woke up, they could watch it, they saw the engagement, and they can comment and jump on it. And this is all built into the platform. You have this today. But boy, here's the other cool thing. You talk about effective onboarding. Let's say I have new people in my team. I would tell them, go watch the last 2 town halls. Not only would they be able to keep up with what's going on in the company, but talk about getting them entrenched in the culture right away. That's much different than sending thank you for joining my team. Here, I'm going to forward you 10,000 emails and read everything, okay? Is this helpful, gang? Now, what else can we do to drive sustainable adoption? We talked about step 1, you got to make it easy for people to do the right thing. Step 2, you have to get quick wins, right? The challenge sometimes for us as IT, we get so caught up in complex stuff, right? We were like, oh yeah, let's hook up Office 365 with SAP. Let's connect D365. Let's make sure Azure AAD is working and make sure hook it up to Run DMC. Run DMC? No? Wrong country. No. But step 3, we have to make sure we enable lasting success. So to put together a solid plan for the next 15 to 18 months, the first 90 days is critical. There's already a proven method on how you jumpstart your first 90 days to drive adoption. Wait, Doug. What are you talking about first 90 days? First 90 days of Office 365, for Teams, for your SharePoint, or what? Doesn't matter. So these are some of the highlights, but I want to show you something here. Here's an example project plan that I converted to Excel because I recognize not everybody has Microsoft Project. This is deploying Microsoft Teams in an organization from soup to nuts within 90 days. From POC, pilot, your rollout, and how do you support. So this first 90 days, if you do it well and you do it right, incorporating all the formulas I just showed, you can definitely drive adoption. Do you guys want a copy of this as well? Yeah. It'll take me a year to make it French, but if English is okay, then I'll definitely share it with you too. Okay, so for lasting success, the first 90 days is critical. And then past that 90 days, you have to provide mechanisms on ways people can continuously learn. Certainly coming to events like this are great, but we all learn, especially in this day and age, on demand. We would want to learn it when we need it. And we want to learn it in a bite-sized form. There's tons of resources out there. Microsoft produced tons of great learning. But what they've also done is you can actually deploy this learning platform for free. It's called the Microsoft 365 Learning Pathway into your tenant. And it will be updated with the latest and greatest videos and tutorials of the Microsoft 365 technology stack. And you can use that to provide on-demand learning for your colleagues in the organization. And apart from that, certainly there's events that are free. From SharePoint Saturdays to Power Apps has a tour. So there's so much opportunities out there. But again, constant learning is key. And then the other part that's critical is we have to demonstrate wins and showcase wins. That's why I love showing stories, things like Air France. I love sharing what we do internally because it would spark ideas and inspiration on how you could do it in your organization or your department. Right? I don't like showing Contoso. Nobody works for Contoso here. No? One day I really want to work there because it seems like everybody's happy and life is perfect. They keep rejecting my application. Right? But you have to showcase and highlight wins. Lastly, to ensure lasting success, we have to groom champions. And champions, most of the time, aren't from IT. These are colleagues in the business that knows your business really well, that understands the pain, and they can bridge the gap for you. And research has found, as a part of diffusion of innovation around technology adoption, they found that learning from coworkers is the most effective way to learn. It doesn't have to be a formal training. It could just be a quick, hey, how did you do this? Or do a lunch and learn, right? Champions can help get people excited, build an influence, and create that network effect. Show people on things that people haven't even thought of. So for example, you want to talk about awesome stories, somebody being a champion and now works for IT. I met this gentleman. He works for the Heathrow Airport. His name is Samit Shani. And Samit, in the last 15 years, he has no IT background. He works as a security person. You know how when you go to airport, the security checks your bag? That's his job. And then one day he noticed that as a part of his day-to-day job, they fill out all these cumbersome paperwork at the end of the day. They're like, it should be better. So he tried. He created an Excel, sheet, but the problem with the Excel, it's still manual. It's not automated. So he kept bugging his boss. He's like, we have Office 365. There's a thing called Power Apps and Flow. Just go watch videos and learn it. That night, he went home, he watched videos, and next day, 2 days later, he built an app. It's a simple app that not only he used, but his fellow security officers use. And it actually, the ROI, it shortened the line of the security because people spend less time filling out paperwork. And then he's like, oh, we could do another app for this, another app for that. And then IT suddenly saw what's going on. It's like, hey, instead of IT saying, hey, stop that, it's like, oh, wow, Power Apps. We don't even know what this thing is. And then they offered him a job. He's now the Power Apps lead for Heathrow Airport. You talk about being a champion, but not only that, he got his 3 other security colleagues excited. And now they're all part of his team. Less code, more power. And that's the exciting stuff about this wonderful platform. Right? So, friends, when we think about inspiring people, motivating people, and driving sustainable adoption, it can be done. But the key here is we have to be intentional, and we have to have a purpose, not only for why the technology is there, but more importantly, a purpose as to how it can help the business, as to how it can help the individuals. So 3 ways to drive sustainable adoption. Make it easy for people to do the right thing, ensure quick wins, and enable lasting success. What do you guys think? Useful? Yeah. All right, so with that, before we wrap up, here's my contact info. You can get all the resources from that URL, so feel free to take a picture or go to that URL. And I'll be around all day, so if you guys are keen to talk and chat, I'll be at our booth at Point. But boy, we live in an exciting time. And despite what's going on with transportation, I was speaking with my colleague Christine this morning. She's like, I didn't even feel it because we're using Teams, right? And that's the kind of power this platform can provide. So again, Messi, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.